Hey there everybody, my name is Beth Wilson. I'm the Pulaski County Horticulture Agent, and I've been trying to do monthly Facebook Live virtual plant clinics over the last few months, and today's no exception. I've got a little different time change today, but otherwise I try to make these very short. I know my attention span's not that long, so trying to make it easy for you to learn and get something out of it. So today we're going to talk about seed saving. I'm a one-arm paper hanger today, so if you have any questions, I won't be able to get to them live, but I will certainly come back and answer them later on. So let's talk about seed starting. Seed starting for your vegetable garden or even for flowers, it's a great thing to do. With COVID, I think a lot more people had a lot of interest in starting their own seeds and kind of being self-reliant. So we're going to talk a little bit about the materials you need and how to grow these plants. All right, so the materials that you need, you're going to need something to hold the media that you're going to plant your seeds into. These trays work nicely. These little 4-packs or 6-packs that you can buy work nicely. They sometimes will fit in a tray. These are great. They have pretty good root size too. Other things like these peat pots are also pretty good. The main thing is it just has to hold the media. But I like these and I don't like these simply because they dry out a little faster because they're so porous. And with seed starting, you need the media to remain as moist as possible until germination, and then after that it can dry off. But anyway, that's good, and they're easy to cut with scissors when you actually go outside to plant. There's also these little things you can get. I'm not real fond of them. I'm not even going to recommend them exactly, but you'll see these in stores. I'm not even going to say the name. They have large sizes that are the size of some of these trays, but they also have these little sizes. These little peat pellets you soak in water, and this is the result of that peat pellet. To me, that is a very, very small size for a transplant, especially if you're going to grow something for 7 weeks or so. But they're out there. If you want to use them, fine, but they do dry out. The nice thing about these little contraptions is, and sometimes you can find it just with the regular flats, is they'll come with a dome, and a dome is pretty important in seed starting, again, simply because you don't want the media to dry out. So anyway, there's that. My master gardeners made me a bunch of peat pots, so peat pots are excellent, or paper pots are excellent. They really don't need any kind of tape or anything, which is good. You put your media in there, plant them, you can stick them in a tray like this, and that way it won't fall apart. They work really, really well. The other thing you're going to want is a way to label what you plant, because you will forget what you planted. You'll forget the cultivar, all those type of things. So be sure as soon as you plant something, you've got something to mark your tray with what you planted. I like to put what type of plant it is, if it's cauliflower, the cultivar name, especially if I have many different cultivars of it, and then the date that I planted it. That's the kind of information that I like. You're going to have some way to water. You can use a spritz bottle, which I do not have today, or you can buy these little things that you put on just plastic bottles. And I like this because I can get a pretty good amount out, but it doesn't tend to beat the seed out of the tray. These are fairly gentle and put a little bit more water on than doing a spray bottle. The other things you're going to need, of course, is the seed. And if I were you, if you have not ordered seed, you better get on it, because if there's something specific you want, the seed companies run out of stuff, especially the most popular varieties, pretty quickly. So seeds, fresh seeds are good, or seeds that you've stored in a good way, like in the refrigerator or freezer. The better seed companies, and I'll tell you, Johnny's is a really good company. The better seed companies will have the germination rate on here and the date that germination was tested. So you know exactly, if you only have to sow one seed per cell, or if maybe you need to do 2 seeds per cell. And that's a whole nother topic. We can talk about, old seeds and how to test their germination another time, but you can do that. It's pretty easy. So beyond that, information is what you're going to need. And I will just tell you, Kentucky's got one of the best home vegetable gardening publications in the nation, I think. It's about a 50-page publication. It's got lots of tables, and the tables are very good. For example, on this page, this table tells you when to plant everything, the earliest dates, the latest dates, because we can have a spring garden and a fall garden. They talk about, days to or weeks, how many weeks to make a transplant, how many feet of row, or how many plants do you need per 4 people in a typical garden. So there's just a ton of information in this. Please call and request this. We can send it to you. We can send you the link to it. All the above. These are free. So I'm going to put that to the side. The last thing we're going to need, and it's pretty important, is the media. I've got several different media to show you. I bought this one today. Cover the brand name. This is a seed starting mix. It says it right there, seed starting mix. There's other ones in smaller little bags. Again, starter mix. Those are the kinds you want for planting seeds, and I'll show you why. I also have a bunch of Pro Mix as an example. So I'll try to come closer here and show you if you can see. Oh my, this isn't going to work out too good. Anyway, this little bit right here is the media that was in the small bag. This media right here, if you can see, it's got a lot of the perlite, okay? It's got these little white things in it. That's called perlite. That's for drainage, which is great. But for seed starting, we like it to hold a little bit more moisture. So this is from the bigger bag I just bought today. You can see these are all peat-based media, but good starter mixes contain peat, vermiculite, sometimes coconut coir. A lot of times they'll have wetting agents. This one in particular does. It tells you right on the back of the bag. It's got a wetting agent because peat is very hard to get moist. And then if it has a little nutrient charge, it will tell you that too. And a lot of seed starter mixes do have a little nutrient charge, so you don't have to, it's not a lot, so you will have to worry as the plants get older for sure about supplying fertilizer, but they've got a little bit to get the plant going. When you're dealing with these mixes, these whatever mix it might be, these can be very, very dusty, and so I always try to moisten them. So I'll add a little bit of water and mix it up really good till it kind of holds together, but not horribly moist, but just enough to kind of hold together. Otherwise, you got the dust in your face, and it's no fun to do seeds. So anyway, I'm going to show you one method of sowing some seeds. I'm going to use this whole flat here. We're going to this pre-moistened Pro Mix. This has got a lot of the perlite in it. Not the greatest for seed starting, but it can work if you keep your eye on it. So I'm just going to fill this up. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Going to pat it down. Okay. And this is nice and moist, but not too moist. That's the key. And then, like for onions, for example, let's just talk about onions. My onions are already up at home. If you're gonna grow onions from seed, you probably need to do that pretty quickly. But these seeds, whoops, wrong seed packet. If you've never seen onion seed, they do produce a seed. And this is what it looks like, if you can see that. They're very tiny little black things, okay? So I don't generally do onions in the cells because I can just massage them out of this tray when they get bigger and stick them in the ground. It works pretty good. So it's real handy to have something to make some rows with. And hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'll try to tilt it up. But you're just going to take some sort of a straight edge. I have a ruler here. And just make little furrows like so. And just, these can be pretty close together, especially for onions, okay? Your seeds don't need to be any more than about 3 times as deep as they are wide. So not terribly deep. Don't dig a big old furrow, but you know, you can do a small one. Okay, so for example, in this tray, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 furrows in here. Can't count today. And what you would do would be then, and I know you won't be able to see this, but you're just gonna sprinkle the seeds into that furrow, and they can be, you know, don't worry about the spacing too much because you probably will have to thin a little bit, but you're just gonna put them in there and then lightly cover them up. Okay, onions don't need light to germinate. There are one vegetable for sure that does need light to germinate, where if you had a flat like this, you would probably just scatter the seed on top of the media. That's lettuce. Lettuce does need light. So if you were to do this to lettuce seeds, you probably wouldn't get very good germination. So most vegetables, you plant them 2 to 3 times as deep as the width of the seed and cover them up lightly with the mix. And then you use your handy dandy thing to kind of wet them in there good. And if you have a dome, at this point you could, oh, gotta label it. If you have a dome, you put the dome on, but a lot of times I'll just use plastic wrap and water the whole thing pretty good, plastic wrap it over, and then that'll keep the media moist. But you have to check it, because as soon as the seeds germinate, you'll want to take that plastic wrap or that dome off, okay? All right, so the other way to sow the seeds is into any of these pots that you got here. This is the media from the big bag I showed you that I just bought today. Not near as much perlite, actually no perlite that I can tell in this mix. So basically you're just going to take your 4-pack, 6-pack, whatever, your peat pots like these over here, if you don't remember, these things, and fill this up. And as I did with the flat, you still want to kind of, you don't want to pack it in really, really hard, but you want to make sure it's settled in there. And then lightly press down and make sure there's no air pockets, just like so. And then for something like these cauliflower seeds here, you can do, I usually take my finger and put little divots in there. And then if your germination rate is really high, like these are, you put 1 seed, and they're pretty tiny, 1 seed per cell. Sometimes if you get 2, that's fine. If you want to double up, that's fine. You make sure you're filling every cell. And then you can, what I like to do is just take some extra mix and just sprinkle a little bit on top of those seeds you just planted, okay? And again, label it. You will forget. And then I like to water it in with this little contraption. And that just settles that seed in there really nicely. And you're ready to go. Again, if you have a dome or plastic wrap, you'd want to do that as well. Let's talk about fertilizer a little bit. Do not be in a rush to fertilize these. In fact, the general rule is to wait until the little seedlings have their first pair of true leaves. And I don't have an illustration today of what it is, but the first 2 leaves that come out when a seed germinates are called cotyledons. Those are the seed leaves. And those actually, since the plant's not photosynthesizing yet, it's actually kind of giving food to the growing seedling, okay? Those are very important, but those are the first 2 leaves you see. And then sometimes you'll see leaves that look totally different than that come out, and those are what we call the first true leaves. So that's about the time that we want to start fertilizer. Now, you're not going to put, these plants are this big, right? Or maybe even smaller. So you're not going to want to put a full rate on. So at least a half a rate, and you can sometimes go a little lower than that. Usually we're wanting to put down a little or water these with a little fertilizer, you know, maybe once a week. As they get bigger, you may switch to the full rate. but definitely don't put on a full rate on these teeny tiny seedlings. The other thing I haven't mentioned is you want to be dang sure that these things have holes, your containers have holes in the bottom, because when you're fertilizing like this, fertilizers are salts, and especially if you're over fertilizing these little bitty seedlings, you can burn them and kill them. So you want to make sure that you have holes in the bottom, and every once in a while, if you're fertilizing especially, you want to be sure that water runs out the bottom of your containers. That will kind of leach away any salts that have built up in that media. The other thing I want to warn you about is once the seedlings do come up, have their first true leaf, don't overwater. Overwatering can lead to a seedling disease called Pythium. We call it damping off, and you can find pictures online, but what happens is that seedling comes up and it just flops right over at the soil line. And that's usually due to overwatering. So you don't want to overwater. You can let them kind of dry out in between waterings. That's not a bad thing, but do be sure. And also, if you're reusing media from last year, which yes, I do it because I'm cheap. If there's some way you can sterilize that, but putting it in the oven, something like that, 200, 250 degrees, I think, for a few hours in the oven, will make your family really happy. But it will sterilize the soil. So that's one way to do that. So if you're reusing media that maybe had some Pythium in it, you could certainly get it again. Okay, so we've talked about just about everything, hopefully. Let's talk about light, because as soon as the seedlings germinate, and even when the cotyledons are there, those cotyledons can photosynthesize. So our job is to give them light. Now, I have been known to put my seedlings in a south-facing window, but anybody that's grown a plant knows that if the light's over here, your plant's going to bend that way. And what's going to happen is they can really bend, and they get kind of spindly and tall, and you want a nice, stout, rugged transplant, thick transplant. That's what you want. You don't want a spindly little, that's going to fall over. So we really recommend using some sort of fluorescent lights. Fluorescent lights are the cheapest. You can certainly use LEDs. LEDs are out there. They're a little more expensive, and you can get LEDs that emit exactly what the plant needs. So that's really, really cool. And overall, you're going to save money on your electric bill if you have a whole lot of LEDs. But anyway, for our setup here, we just have good old fluorescents. They work. The main thing is they don't create a lot of heat. And being that they don't create a lot of heat, you want to be sure that you get your plants really up close. Now, I know I don't have a canopy here to show you, but in general, when you put when your little seedlings are up a little bit, you want the canopy of those seedlings to be an inch or two from the light. So you've got to have a way either to lower the lights down to that level, or use other things to kind of build it up so that your plants are right underneath the light. That's going to give you a nice, stout, thick transplant that's not leaning over and not falling over, that kind of thing. And that's perfect. That's exactly what you want. There's no need for these young seedlings to be on 24 hours a day. In nature, they certainly wouldn't be on 24 hours a day. So timers are really nice. I have timers in here. I didn't show you. But anyway, you can get a really cheap timer, plug in your lights. 8 to 10 hours is all they need. And put that on a timer and walk away. Still got to water though. And you're done with the light. But you do have to kind of make sure that your canopy of your seedlings is fairly close to that light, just so you don't get the spindliness. That's about all I got for today. I will mention that the 4-H agent and I are working on a grab-and-go kit that has to do with lights. Be looking for that in February. Don't know the specifics yet. We're still kind of working on it, but it's going to be fun. It'll be a good kid activity or adult activity. Oh, and one thing I did fail to mention, timing. I'm so sorry. Let's go back a little bit. Timing of your seeds, planting your seeds. For example, I just said if you wanted to plant onions from seed to get them out by our ID 128 calls for about March 25th, then you need to plant right now, okay? It's a 10 to 12 week seedling, so it takes a long time for an onion to get to size that you can plant outside. Cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, those things, we generally do not do Brussels sprouts in the spring. That's a fall thing, so don't waste your time on Brussels sprouts in the spring. Just do it in the fall. But those plants would go out the first week of April, maybe the very last of March. So you count back. You usually need about a 6 to 7 week seedling for that. So you count back, and that means you're going to be seeding these things the last half of February. Cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, those type of things. And then for your tomatoes and peppers, eggplant, other things like that, those aren't usually planted out to the first week of May, as we experienced last year. We had a frost on May the 9th, a really, really bad frost on May the 9th. Our frost-free date is May 10th, so it could happen. So just be sure if you do it early, maybe have some backup plants, just in case. But anyway, we're gonna plant those the first week of May. They usually need about a 7, maybe 8 week transplant. So when you're looking at that, you count back from that first week of May, you're talking about seeding those in mid-March. So be sure to time those correctly, otherwise your plants may not be up to size when you want them, or they'll be way overgrown by the time you can get them out. So let's just try to do the best you can. I haven't talked about temperature much. Your house temperature is fine. There's no big deal about that, but you don't want it too cold for sure, and you don't want it too hot, just your ambient temperature. Okay, I am done. I want to keep this short. Thanks for watching. Be looking for the kit on seed starting coming up hopefully in February, and appreciate y'all watching. See ya.